All right, hello everybody. This is Kiara Windrider, broadcasting live on March 28th, 2020 on Facebook Live. So, welcome whoever's here on this show with me. I have to admit, this is the very first time that I'm ever using Facebook Live, and I haven't quite figured out how this works. So, if you have comments, I think you can write them in. If you have questions, you can write them in, and I'll see if I can respond along the way. If you do have questions, maybe you could write them in caps so that it's easier to see. Otherwise, I could just wait until the next time we meet to address them. So my thought was to maybe do this 3 times a week for the next month. So this would be Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Indian time, which I think is 9 a.m. European time, and then just translate that to whatever that works out to in the US and elsewhere around the world. So these are unique and amazing times. I think for many of us, we've been sitting at home for a while, whether on self-imposed quarantine or lockdowns or whatever it may be. And it's been an amazing time to reflect and to deepen. So there's so many layers of what's happening on this earth right now. And in some of my blogs lately, I've been writing about this. I started off a few months ago with a blog on shadows of a dying age, not realizing that the transition would be coming so soon. The next series of blogs was about the phoenix rising, so what's emerging now from the ashes of an old consciousness, an old paradigm, an old world. And then the next series of blogs was about the supramental descent, and I'll explain this a little bit further. The current series of blogs is about what's happening right now with the coronavirus. There's again many different perspectives on this, and we can look at this from a number of different viewpoints. Most importantly, I think it is to understand that we're in this time of perfection. There's nothing that's happening on this earth independent of a divine plan. And so, as I speak about the supramental descent, the word supramental refers to a unified force of light. It's a field emanating from the very boundary of creation, the boundary between the formless aspect of who we are and this form aspect, this creation aspect. And it's an aspect of us, it's an aspect of the divine light that's being embodied right now on this earth. What I mean by unified is that for so long we've been in this paradigm where there's a dark and there's a light, and there's a battle between the dark and the light. And that entire paradigm is now changing and dissolving. And so the supramental light, as it emerges in our human consciousness, as it descends into our bodies, into a cellular being, is creating something that has perhaps never happened in our conscious human history before. And this is about creating a bridge between our humanity and our divinity, creating a bridge between heaven and earth, between dark and light, if you could refer to it in that way. So everything that you're experiencing on this earth, even if it appears to be dark or scary in some way, is part of a transition. We've talked about this for a long time, that we are caterpillars evolving into butterflies. And right now, we're going through this cocooning. It's a phase. We're entering into this cocoon, literally, for many of us who are being forced to stay indoors. And then from that space, something happens. The coronavirus, even the word corona, crown, is an interesting choice of words. It's a family of viruses, along with adenoviruses and others, that have a very specific morphology. And there's some people that I've been talking with in the last few days who've been actually bringing the vibrational field of this virus, of this COVID-19, and inviting that to move through us. A lot of it has to do with releasing deep layers of grief and fear from our collective human consciousness. And as people have been experimenting with this, it's been a tremendous awakening, a tremendous activation of Kundalini and joy. So somehow it's an opportunity, rather than going into panic, going into fear, going into feelings of helplessness or being stuck, to use this time and use this opportunity to enter into that cocoon of transformation and then see what happens. This cocoon is literally an unknown space of mystery. We don't know what's on the other side. We can glimpse something perhaps, we can trust with the eyes of the heart, but what actually happens on the other side is unknown. I do feel like we're literally in the awakening of what many have referred to as Homo luminous, the new human species, or Gaia luminous, the new planet. So this is an evolutionary journey. And by evolutionary, I mean that there's something deep within the earth, deep within the heart and consciousness, the soul of the earth, that's arising, moving into its next level of expression. We are part of Gaia. We are not separate from her, even though sometimes we pretend that we are. So we ourselves are going through this evolutionary phase, this evolutionary awakening at this time. So it's an amazing time. We've been predicting this. We've been looking forward to this for quite a long time. And then when it happens, it just happens so quickly and suddenly, through strange circumstances. So Vedic astrologers have been talking about this time for a long time. Ancient prophecies have referred to this for a long time. The Mayas, the Hopis, the ancient Hindus, the Egyptians, the Tibetans, the Incas, so many others, the Aborigines. Many of them talk about a time of purification, a time of being isolated, 3 days of darkness, and literally a space of emptiness, allowing ourselves that space, allowing ourselves to be reborn, allowing ourselves to be reset. We've talked about magnetic fields, how the magnetic fields of the earth have much to do with this transition as well. We'll go into that. We've also talked about galactic superwaves. These waves are coming in from the center of the galaxy, carrying certain information for renewal, for rebirth. This is happening all over, not just on this planet. It's happening all over our solar system. It's happening all over our galaxy. It's happening all through creation. Every single place, every single dimension. So when I speak about the supramental descent, it's something that's emerging within the heart of creation itself. It's perhaps never existed to this extent, this opportunity to awaken within creation into the consciousness of Creator. So in other words, Creator and creation consciousness are coming together in a way that may surprise us if we are not prepared for it. Many, many people across the earth are experiencing this spontaneously. People who have no metaphysical or spiritual background. Things happening within their bodies, the dreams. Sometimes a bit scary because you can't refer to it from the old paradigm, um, and in the midst of chaos. So it's not something that is necessarily something that emerges from, you know, deep silence, sitting in a cave. It's something that happens in the midst of activity, in the midst of chaos, in the midst of all the fear that's around, in all the lockdowns and the travel bans that we're experiencing. Something invisible, something silent is being born. And I think many of us are experiencing this. I've talked with many, many people who've been sharing their own experiences of this from around the world. So I thought what we could do in this forum that we are creating together is use this as an opportunity to share with each other, to exchange thoughts and visions. I'm not sure exactly how this works. Maybe at some point we could also go into a Zoom space where people can see each other directly and talk with each other directly. But this is a good beginning. So it's an opportunity to share, to discuss, to connect with each other across the earth. It's an online community. There's probably people from many, many different countries here. Maybe if you like, what you could do is just write a quick message saying where you're from, who you are, where you're from. So we have a sense of how many people are engaged together here and where you are located. So we are creating a group cohesive energy. In about a week, May 4th and 5th, there's going to be a global meditation planned, and many people have been talking about this and preparing for this. We can do our own little thing. Basically, it's about holding our vision for the new earth. What is your highest vision, and how can you manifest that? How can you bring that soul consciousness into form? There's two aspects to it. One is surrendering to this mystery, surrendering to this divine plan, not necessarily knowing on a conscious level what that means. The other aspect of that is to hold the vision very strongly within our conscious awareness, because that awareness can then move outwards in ripples to, create something around us, outside of us, and through us. So we are actually unifying many different levels of the mind, many different levels of consciousness. The higher levels of the mind, our conscious awareness, but also a very cellular level of the mind, what Sri Aurobindo and other mystics have referred to as the mind of the cells. It's a deep wisdom that we carry within our bodies, within our DNA. And this is somehow being affected right now. There's something about this coronavirus and our response to it as we go through and clear the collective pain and fear and resistance that we have been holding for generations, that this actually releases those layers to allow us to be more directly connected with who we are. We could speak about different perspectives about the virus itself. Rudolf Steiner has a very interesting take on this as well, which has to do with, it's not so much something outside of us, it's actually poisons and toxins within us that are being released in this particular form as the earth changes dimensions. Partly it has to do with our entry through electromagnetic waves. We're all seeing the birth of new technologies, electrotechnologies, electricity, radar waves, microwaves, and then 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, each one a different vibrational frequency, and each has its own attendant dangers. And as we confront those, we're releasing certain layers of toxins from our physical bodies and from the body of the earth. And so this is something that is also part of our journey. If we can do this consciously, it can be very, very powerful. So when we're talking about the mind of the cells, our gateway into this mind of the cells is through these microorganisms, is through our elemental self. So there are aspects of ourself that are conscious. This has to do with the human soul. There are aspects of our self which are subliminal, and this has to do with these invisible layers of what we are and who we are. So let's enter into this together. It's an opportunity. It's a powerful opportunity for claiming our freedom on so many levels. We're talking about spiritual levels. We're also talking about political, social, economic levels. In many of the blogs so far, I've been touching on some of this. In my books, I've also been detailing some of this. So as we go through these times, if we can walk with awareness, walk in balance, walk in our power, we can hold a frequency of light. And that's important. Many of you may be familiar with the work of David Hawkins. He's a psychologist. I don't know if he's still alive. His book, Power versus Force, has been highly influential for a lot of people. And what he says in this particular book, he refers to a scale of consciousness, and it goes from 0 to 1,000. 0 is our shame, a fear, a guilt, a sense of hopelessness, the lowest common denominator of who we are. And then on this, when you go up to 1,000, it's that state of oneness and unity consciousness. Everything in between our evolutionary journey. He says that our average human vibrational frequency is somewhere around 200. It may be more by now. But he says what's interesting is that one person that can vibrate at, say, 300 can counterbalance, say, 10 people who are vibrating at 200. And then as you go up logarithmically, one person at 400 counterbalances 100 people who are holding that average frequency of 200. And then so on. One person at 500 and 600 and 700 can counterbalance millions and tens of millions and billions of people, because we're not talking about a quantity, we're talking about an ability to hold a certain vibrational frequency, bring it through our bodies, and from there to emanate it through the body of the earth. It's like becoming an acupuncture needle through which these unified fields of light can enter into Gaia and work with the kingdoms of Gaia. So many of you have seen that movie, Avatar, where at a certain point, Jake and the Navis connect into the collective mind and the soul of Pandora, Aiwa. And at that point, there's a quantum leap. And this is where we are going to at this time. As we collectively enter into the heart and the soul, the mind of Gaia, we are allowing ourselves to enter into a new evolutionary quantum field, which we've been awaiting for a long time. It's a mysterious process. It's not linear, and it's not something we can consciously make up in some way, but we can surrender to something bigger than ourselves that is now moving through. And it's encouraging, and it's exciting, it's powerful. And so that to me is what this coronavirus crisis opportunity is all about. So I'm just quickly looking down the comments here. I don't see any specific questions. I see a lot of people from all over: Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, Italy, Pondicherry, UK. Yay. So it's beautiful to connect together in this way. And I look forward to continuing onwards. There's one person that says the volume is a little bit low, so I'm going to turn up this here. So let me know if this makes a difference. All right, so I said that we'll meet for 30 minutes or so, and I don't see any questions at this point. If you do have questions, please let me know. Just write them in later, if you like, on the Facebook link or on my mail, however. Let's take this time, use this opportunity to connect personally as well as collectively. So I'd like to go into a little bit of a meditation together. Some of you have been working with me already with the Lahinur field and with the Inca practices. So I might use some of these to enter into this time. And if you haven't, it's very easy, and you'll experience yourself in that field anyway. All right, so here we go. So just opening our hearts in gratitude to this time of great transformation, opening our hearts in love to a great Mother Gaia, to the Great Spirit that moves through all things, is all things, and for the joining of the masculine and feminine, the Shiva, the Shakti aspects of being within each one of us and within the heart of the earth. So grateful for this opportunity to be here on earth at this time, to be gathered together in this way, to connect with the truth of who we are. Breathe the breath of life, the prana. We're learning to connect with these fields of prana which connect us to fields beyond ourselves. So many different aspects of our being, so many different layers of consciousness, layers of body, layers of mind. So let's together now first invoke that supramental field, the field of unified light, Ilahi Nur, however we call this, Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness, Shiva consciousness, Mother, Divine Mother, in all her aspects. And here on earth we connect with all the different fields of life, the different kingdoms of life, the mineral kingdoms beneath our feet, the plants, the etheric body of the earth, the animals representing the emotional body of the earth, the whales and the dolphins, the humans representing the soul of the earth, all the animals, all the species, every single creature in this web of life representing an aspect of Gaia. Just like we in our human bodies are made up of so many trillions of cells, so the body of the earth includes all of us creatures. And she is awakening. This is her journey. This is her awakening. And so we feel this gratitude to be here at this time, to be given this opportunity to be part of this awakening. Whatever this looks like, however long it takes, we are here. We invite this field of light all the way through our being, all the way through our minds, all the way through our psyches and our nervous systems, all the way through our cells, all the way down into the earth, into the body of the earth. We connect deep down with the elemental forces within the earth, the dragons, the elemental worlds, nature spirits. We invite you all to participate in this great awakening, all together, with all that we are at this time. For those of you who've done the Inca work, just open that window as wide as you can now. Feel the Sami pouring in, the divine light entering through. All the way through different layers of our being down to the earth. The electrical forces moving downwards. And then the response from the earth. Magnetic forces moving up from the center of the planet, moving up through our bodies, and then again out through that window to the sky. These two forces, electrical and magnetic, interacting, joining, expanding into our subtle bodies and the subtle body of the earth. We connect with layers of the soul in our own personal consciousness and within the consciousness of the earth, Gaia. And as we do so, we come to that grateful recognition that we're in exactly the right place at this time, that we're given exactly what we need to fulfill this great mission, that this evolutionary journey can proceed without hindrance, according to divine plan, no matter what. There's no more duality between the appearance of dark and light. That's an old paradigm that's fading and dissolving very quickly now. As we open to the supramental force, the old paradigm dissolves on its own. So we hold the space of silence together now, surrendering and allowing the self within and beyond permeating all things. So if you're in a state of silence or meditation, just remain in that. I'll end this live stream now. Please enter your comments, your questions, your experiences. And we'll connect again Monday next week, same time. So it'll be Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. 1:30 Indian time, 9 o'clock European time, and wherever else you happen to be. Blessings, aloha, namaste.